Hey guys, the reason you're watching this video is you are either a really dedicated student and you're trying to rehear or review what you've got going on for Gateway, or you're also a dedicated student because you recognize that while you are sleeping in class, the Gateway is coming up soon and you need to review. So what I have before me is a prompt about mitosis and meiosis. So we kind of want to talk about the different things that you should do. When you first get a prompt like this one, the first thing you want to do is you want to read through it. So take a moment, pause the video, and read through the entire prompt. Okay, now that you have read through the prompt, the next thing we want to do is we want to highlight or underline keywords. So in our title, we see mitosis and meiosis, and this is the first big thing that we see as vocabulary words. And then our scientific background, we see it talk about cell division is the big vocabulary word there. It talks about somatic cells and daughter cells. And then we have DNA replication, right? Cell division again. We see parent cell, daughter cells, and then mitosis and meiosis again. Okay, so once you have highlighted keywords, you want to go back in and you want to make sure that you can define those words. So let's talk about mitosis. What is mitosis? Mitosis is the replication of body cells. Okay, so this is any skin, organs, muscles, bone, things like that. Meiosis, however, is the replication of sex cells. And a sex cell is also called a gamete. And we know that there are two types depending on whether or not you are male or female. You can either have sperm or egg. Those are the two types of gametes. Okay, cell division is when the cell splits apart. Okay, and this occurs, when the specific membrane splits, we want to use the word cytokinesis for that. And as a general thing, when we're looking at it, we can see that all of these, generating our tissues, repairing our wounds, aids in fighting off infection, these are all about cell division, and they are the roles or the reasons what cell division does. A somatic cell is a body cell, okay, and daughter cells are produced by parent cells through cell division. Okay, and daughter cells can either be haploid or diploid, depending on whether or not you're undergoing mitosis or meiosis, and how many chromosomes they have. Okay, when we're talking about DNA, okay, we're talking about deoxyribonucleic acid, okay, which is the genetic information your body needs for things. Okay. Now you can see that my prompt is starting to look a little messy, right? And that's good because you want to be jotting things down. This is how you brainstorm on the Gateway. You are not given a graphic organizer or anything like that, but these are things that you can do in order to really take what is in your brain and put it down on the paper before you begin actually forming like complete sentences. So when we talk about replicated, we're talking about copying. Okay, and then we've already talked about cell division and the remaining words, so we're going to kind of leave it there. Now, just by using our prior knowledge, we can get all of this information down, and we can use all of this information and incorporate it as much as possible. Now, something that I want to make sure that you are aware of is this scientific background. Okay, this is really important when writing your introduction, and that is because your scientific background, this is where you get your scenario. Okay, and if you don't mention your scenario in your introductory paragraph, then you are considered off task. So if in this scientific background it told you that you are a scientist somewhere, or you are a student at a school, you would need to make sure to mention that in your intro paragraph. Okay, so let's pause a moment, make sure we have all of this, and then we'll go look at our documents. And keep in mind, guys, you might not know all of these things, but anything that you remember that can be used is helpful. And points are not taken off for wrong things. Only points are awarded for having the stuff they're looking for down. So if you think that cell division is a vocabulary term other than cytokinesis, right, when you're taking the gateway, if you describe it a little wrong, you're not taking points off. It's better to write as much as you can than as little as possible because you're afraid of being wrong. Let's pause and go to the documents. Okay, so our documents are meant to be used as evidence. So it's going to be really important when you're analyzing your documents to start off with what you see. So statements, I see cells dividing one time, right? That's something we see, okay? We see cytokinesis starting to happen here. I see chromosomes. I see chromosomes, which are made of DNA, replicating, right? We go from 2 chromosomes in this first cell to 4 chromosomes. I see spindle fibers, that's what those little lines are called, attaching to the chromosomes. I see the spindle fibers pull the chromosomes apart. All right, so we see that this first cell is our parent cell. So I see a parent cell, and I see us ending with 2 identical daughter cells. Okay, so all of this is evidence of something, or can be evidence for our statements. Now, if we know that mitosis is the replicating of body cells, when your muscles replicate, right, or your skin replicates, it's important that the daughters are identical to the parent cell. So the fact that we end with 2 identical daughter cells, that is evidence for mitosis. So this is the process of mitosis, right? So if you know all about prophase and interphase and metaphase and anaphase, and telophase, I'm going in the wrong order, I think, you can mention all that in here, right? You could identify the different steps of it in here, but you don't have to know those names in order to answer this prompt, okay? So let's take a look at document B. Document B is similar to document A. We see chromosomes and cells and things like that, but we also see some differences. So let's talk about, I see what? I see a parent cell. I see 2 types of chromosomes. chromosomes. We see that at this arrow, the DNA replicates, right? Because we go from having 4 to 8. We see that chromosomes swapped chromatids, which are the little legs, right? That process is called crossing over or crossover. Okay. We see cell division happen the first time, and then we see cell division happen again. I see that we end in 4 daughter cells, and they're all unique, and they don't match. So all of this is evidence for the fact that document B is talking about meiosis or meiosis, depending on how you pronounce it, okay? And so that these 4 unique daughter cells are gamete cells or sex cells, okay? So either egg or sperm, okay? And we can use document B in comparison to document A to show differences. How meiosis divides twice, not just one time. It ends in 4 daughter cells instead of 2. And because this ends up with half of the original number of chromosomes that the parent has, these are called haploid cells. They contain 1/2 of the original DNA. So that means on document A, those 2 daughter cells were diploid cells. They contained the exact same amount. Okay, so let's talk about document C. All right, so with document C, let's see what we see. I see G partnered with C and A partnered with T. I see a double helix shape, often described as a twisted ladder. I see that G, C, A, and T connect the 2 strands. I see DNA splitting. See that part right here? I see a new and old strand create a copy. I see the old strand used as a template. I see that, well, the new and old strand creating the copy. I see that each copy is identical. Okay, so these are all the things that I see, right? Things that I can see with my eyes. Now, there's a lot of other information that I don't see in the document, but I know because of this evidence. So I know that the double helix is the shape of DNA. What I also know, based on this, is I know that G, C, A, and T are examples of base pairs, which are also called nucleotides. Okay, so all of these things I know, it's based on the evidence that I see. Okay, I know that when DNA splits, it also has to unwind. I know that there is I believe it's a protein, but it's DNA helicase is responsible for splitting up the 2 strands. I know that the fact that each strand has a new and old copy is called something super important called semi-conservative nature, right? Talking about how each copy that I see here has an old and a new strand. Okay, I know that RNA is used to create, oops, if I could spell RNA, that would be important. RNA is used to make the template and to add the nucleotides. Okay, so you could do even more research, but as much as you can put in here is really great. So when you are looking at these documents, this is kind of what your gateway should look like. It should have all of this stuff kind of written in. You're analyzing stuff. Now, one thing to keep in mind if we're looking at the first prompt is how to write a good thesis. So let's work on writing a thesis for this prompt. Okay, remember your thesis should be the last sentence in your intro paragraph. And another thing is we are moving beyond three-prong theses. It should not say, first I'm going to talk about this, 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 and this. And your introduction should never, ever start with a question in a science gateway. Please, 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 for the love of all that is holy, do not write, have you ever wondered if? Okay, that's horrible. Don't do it. Okay, so with the thesis, you want to kind of look at what are the important things in each bullet point. So the main subject or summary. So if we look at bullet point number 1, describe when and how DNA is replicated during the process of cell division. The big thing there is DNA replication, right? That's the main focus. When, how, all of that sort of thing. Explain what occurs as a parent cell divides to produce daughter cells. Okay, so the main thing here we're talking about is cell division. Okay, and then the main part of the third bullet point is mitosis and meiosis. Okay, which we could even just summarize as the types of cell division. Okay, so we need to put all of these in a sentence and kind of tie it back to our title. Okay, your title is the theme of your paper. Okay, it should always tie back to your title in order for everything to kind of flow and connect together. So as we're working on our thesis, let's take a look at how we want to do this. There are many ways that we could word this sentence, but let's just say that DNA occurs during, or oops, sorry, not DNA occurs, DNA replication occurs during mitosis and meiosis, which are types of cell division. Okay, the crazy thing about this thesis, we just kind of combined all three of those, is that I wrote 3 different theses for this prompt yesterday with my class, and this one never came up. Okay, so this is a 4th one. You could say that mitosis and meiosis have or incorporate DNA replication and cell division in order to occur. I mean, you could put them in many different ways, and I would almost challenge you to practice writing as many versions of a thesis as you can before actually taking the gateway on Monday. So now that we have a thesis for this, we could go into how to write an intro and how to write a conclusion paragraph, but that will be in a different video. So do good things, be good people, make smart choices.